welcome to the SFG Mentors phone training. What we are going to be going over in this video is the BEST system. And this is the phone script that Symmetry Financial uses to schedule appointments. And before we jump into that, I do want to talk just a little bit about kind of your posture and your stance as you're getting into these calls. Number one, be confident. If you're nervous on the phone, if you're hesitant when you're going through this stuff, they're going to wonder why. And we're not doing anything weird with this information. We're just there to help them. But if they're getting a weird vibe from you, then they're going to start wondering why. And so we just want to be confident. We know what we're doing. We have an amazing product, to help our clients, and we are just trying to schedule that appointment. And also, when you're done with this video, make sure that you look below, and there are a couple audios that are going to take you even further with your skill set with this phone script. So what I'm going to go over in this video is the base. Okay, we're going to go over the basics and make sure that you're real familiar with the script and how to use it. We're going to talk about why we're saying some of the things that we're saying. And then the audios below are going to go even further. You're going to get to hear from some of the owners in the company and some of the top agents and managers that we have. So make sure that is the next step of this training once this video is over, is to watch those videos. Listen to those audios and make sure to take really good notes on that. So let's go ahead and jump into what is called the BEST system. And this is an acronym for Be Busy, Establish the Reason Why You're Calling, Set Appointment, and Tie It Down. And it really is that simple. The first one is be busy. And all that means is pick up the phone. This is a numbers game. So the more dials you make, the more appointments you set, the more families that you're going to help. And our top agents are making, a minimum of 250 dials or more per week. And that is a minimum, which means that if you don't have the number of appointments set that is your goal, then keep dialing. So we really have a mentality of dial until. Keep dialing until you get the number of appointments that you need, because some agents are going to be better than others on the phone initially. And that's why we dial so much, because how do you get better at something, right? You practice it and you do it over and over and over again while communicating with your mentor and getting better. So that's a really important number. As a full-time agent, you want to be putting in a minimum of 250 dials or until you get your number of appointments booked. But at the end of the day, this job, this business that we're in, it's all about activity. If you put in the dials, you're going to schedule the appointments and you're going to make the sales and protect the families. So that's why this is number one on here, and it's probably the most important one. So, be busy, just put in the dials. We're not looking to convince people to be interested in our product. We're looking for the people that already are. And so that's what this script is all about. It's letting them know why we're calling. And then if they're interested, we continue on. If they're not interested at all, then we move on to the next person. So the second letter is E, and that's for establish the reason why you're calling. You want to make sure that they know why you're calling. You're not a telemarketer. You are calling specifically because they mailed something back and requested information. And so that's kind of what we're getting into. So jumping right into this, hello, Susan. My name is Johnny Cox. I'm calling about your mortgage in the amount of $50,000 with Frost Bank. I was just getting back to you about that letter you sent in regarding the mortgage protection coverage. Do you remember that? Okay, well, let me just verify some of the information you provided so we can work up several options for you and then go right into collecting this information. Okay, and I'm going to pause there because I want to talk a little bit more about this top section. And the first thing you noticed is that there were no pauses. And that's really, really important because if you add a pause in there and you haven't let them know why you're calling, then they might assume that you're a telemarketer and they might just hang up on you. They might butt in. They might, cut you off and say anything. And it doesn't matter what they say. They don't know why you're calling yet, and we want to make sure that they do know why we're calling before they give us any responses. Okay, so just no pauses in between. Most of the time, when people see a period or a comma in normal conversation, you pause. But in this situation, in that first paragraph, you want to just keep going until you get to the end of the sentence. Um, for those of y'all starting off with bonus leads, which should be everybody, and if you're not sure what bonus leads are, reach out to your mentor and they'll talk to you about it. But one thing that I like to add is that getting back to you about that letter you sent in regarding mortgage protection coverage. It may have been a while ago. Do you remember that? Adding some line in there, just stating that it may have been a while ago, because some of them might be 4, 5, 6 months or more, because they did send it in the past and we have not been able to get a hold of them. So you want to handle that objection before it comes up. So I always add a little line in there just saying, it may have been a while ago. Do you remember that? And when they say yes, then boom, you go into the next part of the script. Also, follow the script word for word. Okay, you cannot become proficient at anything if you're changing it every time. So, use this script word for word. And as you get better and as you mentor with your upline, there might be some changes that we make specifically for you so that this can become your own. But for now, we don't know what those changes are going to need to be because it's different for everyone. So make sure that you're following the script, and that way we can work with you on that. So that is that first paragraph. Now these numbers here, this next section, this is once they've already said yes, and they're good to go. And you want to again be sure to get all this information, write it down. There is the client qualification form that you'll want to use. This is attached with the best system script below. And so you want to fill this information out as you are discussing this information. So you want to get down their date of birth or their age. If they have an age that's on the lead sheet and not a date of birth, you want to get the date of birth, okay? We don't know how old the lead was, and we also don't know when their birthday is. So if they have a birthday coming up in a week, we want to make sure we get that policy in before then, so that they don't, it's not more expensive. We want to get their height and their weight, also the spouse's information. You want to find out if they've used tobacco in any form. And if they have, find out what it is. Is it cigarettes, cigars, just whatever. Do you have any medical issues? And suggest these like high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, heart attack, high cholesterol, COPD. I also like to add in here or any disability, income, because that does change some of their options. Are they taking any medication at this time or admitted to a hospital in the past 10 years? What do they do for work? If they have a dangerous job or if they're overseas, things like that can change, what we're going to offer. Confirm the mortgage amount, find out the monthly payment, and what were they looking for when they sent this in? Was it mainly for the husband, the wife, or both? So get all that information, and then we're going to get to S, which is set appointment. This is where we're going to go ahead and assume the appointment, and you're just going to say, okay, now it takes me about 15 minutes to see what coverage you'll qualify for. I have a handful of homeowners to see in your area tomorrow, and I have a blank or blank appointment available. What's the best time for you and your spouse? Now, one thing to keep in mind, you asked earlier, what's your typical work schedule? What we're trying to find out here is when do they get home from work? So when you're coming to this section and you're asking them when they're available, obviously you want to start off with times that are very likely that they'll be available. So if you're making calls on Saturday, or Sunday evening, and let's say we're trying to schedule for a Monday, we would want to start off, let's say Monday at 5:30, if he gets off work at 5. So 5:30, or would 7 o'clock be available. You're just going to go through your two available times and put that in there. Always give two time options, never just one. If you give just one, it allows them to say no, and it's very easy for them to then fill in an objection like, can you call me later? Can you call me next week? Any of those types of things. But if you give them one or the other, then it doesn't make sense to say no. They have to say, well, neither of those times work, which is now suggesting to you, implying that they want you to pick more times, and it allows you to then move later in the evening or to Tuesday, and go from there. Always keep your appointments within 48 hours, 3 days maximum, but really 48 hours is the best plan. So if you're making calls on Saturday, you want to schedule Sunday and Monday. Sunday evening, you want to schedule Monday, Tuesday. And as you fill those up, you can start moving further out, but you want to keep it in a tight window. So whenever they say, a time that works for them and their spouse, put you down for 5:30. Now, can you grab something to write with? Also, in this section, make sure no shaky responses. If they say, yeah, that should work, or yeah, I should be available, you want to add something in there to say, well, I'm going to be really busy that day and I want to make sure that I sit with y'all. Are you sure that time definitely works for you? Or would there be a better time? Get them to commit, get them to say something, yes, no, that time definitely works. Okay, that is going to help your show rate, so that those appointments actually end up happening, right? You're actually sitting with them. Also, make sure that the spouse is going to be there. So what is the best time for you and your wife, you and Susan, whoever, because we don't do one-legged appointments. Husband and wife are going to need to make a decision together, and it's something that involves them both. Even if we're only getting coverage on the husband, the wife's the one getting the money, right? So we want to make sure that she has a say in this, because it's a decision they need to make together. The last section is to tie it down, and this is to help those appointments actually happen, right? We want to make sure that they're home when we arrive, and that they don't reschedule on us. So what we do is we tell them, I need you to write down a few things that you'll need to have out when I arrive. This will help speed up the whole process. I need your doctor's name, address, and phone number for both you and your spouse, and she will be there for the appointment. Is that right? Okay, great. Now, I also need any medications that either of you are taking out on the table, if you don't mind. And then lastly, I'll just need a picture ID for both of you. Driver's license is fine. Now, that should be all I need. And what time did I say again? Okay, great. If you could just write down that time at the top of your paper, as I'll be there, tomorrow evening, whatever. If you'll give me a 15 or 20-minute window on either side of that time, since I'll be meeting with other homeowners in the area too. And if I plug your address into my GPS, will it take me right to your home? Okay, perfect. Awesome. We'll see you tomorrow. So that section is number one, to make sure that they have the information that you need when you arrive so that you can help them. But number two, it's just to make them realize this is a real appointment, and that they need to hold up their end of the bargain, in this section. So verify their address. Don't give them your phone number if they don't ask for it. So you want them to write down, maybe your name and your appointment time. Okay, but don't worry about the phone number. They have caller ID if they absolutely need it. And just have confidence in that section, right? You're there to help them. You're the expert. Even for those of y'all that are new, you took an insurance exam, which means that just from that reason alone, you know more about insurance than probably 98% of the people out there. So you are the expert. And you also have a support system that's going to be able to help you out there. So this is the best system, okay? There's going to be another document as well that's going to be handling objections. So make sure to review that document. It's very simple. It's going to tell you what the objection is at the top, and then below it, it'll tell you how to handle it. So make sure to study up on those, and get real familiar with them. And other than that, again, make sure that you listen to the audios below. That's going to give you some really good information from, again, some of the top people in the company. And hope that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions about any of this information, make sure to reach out to your upline, and they can help you out with anything that you need. Thanks and good luck to you and glad to have you part of the team.